A while about what God's shown us as a vision for this wellness community. Yeah, go ahead and come on in. If you guys, if there are some seats near your row that if you could scoot this way so that people could find latecomers could find an empty seat there. If any of you guys, a lot of us are very closely connected and are friends with Aaron Tomlinson, who came here pretty recently. He's a real friend of our church, and his prophetic words that he gives us carry a lot of weight, and we hold them dear, and they're very significant, and they're very they're right on a lot of times. He told me this past time. God told me I needed to start a blog a couple years ago. I thought, blog? A blog is it's almost like an online journal that people can subscribe to and read and all this stuff. And I wanted to, and I just didn't do it. I don't know why I didn't. I felt like God wanted me to. Well, Aaron, the last time when he came about 3 or 4 weeks ago, he was praying for a little while, and then he said, "Do you have a blog?" And just out of nowhere. And I said, kind of, but not really. He said, "Why don't you have that yet?" And so that's the kind of words that he gives, are like piercing, very confirming, right on. And what he said about the wellness community, he said, this is one of those ministries that is going to affect a lot of people outside of these walls. It's going to affect people maybe even out of the state, maybe even out of this country. He said it's going to have a very wide-ranging impact. And when I thought about that, I thought almost every church ministry has that in its scope to make an impact outside of the walls of the church. But it's very unique when it actually does happen. And it happens with several of the ministries at this church. It happens with a lot of the ministries at this church. But if you've been in other churches, you know that it doesn't, and some ministries honestly are just for this body and for this church and everything there. If we need more chairs, we can definitely, there's more in this. So, thank you, welcome. We just got started with a couple fake testimony. Well, one of them was joke testimony. One of them, I just caught the tail end of it. It was about worms.
I'm not the only.
If anybody has any more testimonies about worms. So I was just saying that Aaron Tomlinson, when he came, he gave us a very cool prophetic word about this ministry, and basically just said that he was going to have wide-ranging effects. I've talked, I don't have a marker for this board. I've talked previously about the vision that God's given us. Honestly, when I start talking about the physical ministry and about our health and where it meets our emotional needs and where it meets our relationships with one another, that's still relatively unknown territory inside the walls of the church. But it's amazing as I start to open up the Bible and see what it says regarding what we want to do with this wellness community. It's not like I have to lift something out of the Bible and make it fit with what we want with the wellness community. It just jumps right off the pages. And what some of the stuff I've talked about before has to do with all these verses that we know and love about in Jeremiah, where he's saying, I know the plans I have for you, and they're plans for your good. Yeah. And that is for every single one of us. And I've talked about that word good, and that passage is that word shalom. And it carries with it just a myriad of good. For our good, of course, it means He has plans that will prosper in our spirit, in our spirit life, and the peace that we carry around. But any good Jew knew that shalom had to do with health. the health of your body, the health that comes from you getting out in the morning and being able to be active and not feeling lethargic, and it had to do with your emotional standpoint, it had to do with your relationships, and it had to do with the activities you took part in. When God says that He has in His heart for our good, God means for our good. He means for our shalom good. He means for every aspect of our lives. We also talked about before, as a sort of a vision for this wellness community, the idea of us going from wellness or from illness over into wellness. And the best way to settle the difference between illness and any part of our lives, financial is a big one, in our health, in our relationships, in what we do on the weekends, our hobbies, and the way that we communicate with people, and is the beginning of those two words, and how in our wellness community, this is our major theme, is connecting people with God and with God's children brings wellness. A broken connection in any one of those areas does bring illness. And I'm going to take it deeper today and show that I'm just going to go deeper with the idea of what this really looks like. And I'm going to go back to a couple of scriptures and hopefully shed a little bit of fresh light on it. Alan talked about today, he was in Romans 10. Romans is an incredibly rich book of the Bible. And getting towards the end in Romans 12 is it's a very well-known passage. I'm going to just start in verse 1, and y'all will pick it up and know it before I finish reading it. But it says, "Therefore I exhort you, brothers and sisters, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a sacrifice." Now, who knows that?
Yeah.
You know, I keep on saying it anytime I get in front of a mic on Sunday mornings, and I'll continue to say it because it's just always on my heart. God has given each one of us gifts, but He's also given us as gifts to one another and to the world. So I don't just have a gift of music. I'm a gift by God for the people around me, the people in this world, this earth, and all His creation, to unwrap and to bless them and to bring God's kingdom. And so the key to us being gifts is this passage right here where it says, okay, because God's been so merciful to us, to save us, to bring us out of death, it says, present your bodies as a sacrifice, alive, holy, and pleasing to God. And this is your worship. The word here in Greek for body is a really cool word, and that's what I want to bring into this vision for the Wellness Center. It's not the word sarx. That's a Greek word that is talking about our flesh and blood. It's also not the word pneuma, talking about our spirit body, our spirit. It's a very cool word. Soma. Soma is it's used very uniquely. Now, this is what soma meant when people read this. This is what they knew. So it can mean the body of a person or an animal, but the body as a sound whole. It also refers to the bodies of planets and stars. I just thought that was kind of cool. But it also means a number of people or members that are closely united. It's always the word used for the church in the New Testament, the body of Christ. is this word soma. So that's what Paul chooses to use here when he says, offer your bodies. He doesn't say offer your flesh and bone, which would be good. Offer yourself as a sacrifice. It doesn't say offer your spirit to God. It doesn't say offer your mind to God. But it says offer your soma to God, which is an entity of members closely united in a society, in a family, a social body, a mystical body, or an entity. And that's what he chooses to use. I just think that's so cool. What is it talking about for us to offer our somas to God? For ourselves, and as we think about making disciples of this nation, of this region, the life in the kingdom of God is going to be brought by them offering their soma to Him. So when I offer my soma to God, I'm offering this lanky 6'2" body. But it's my spirit and my soul too. It's a very unique sacrifice, and it's described in 3 ways in that passage. It says, offer your somas as a sacrifice to God. And it says that soma is in three descriptions. It's alive, it's holy, and it's pleasing to God. Did you know when it says that we're holy, it's talking about every part of me is holy. The next verse talks about renewing my mind. Even before I go on this journey of renewing my mind and becoming more like God, He's made me holy. And it's not just my spirit's holy and my flesh, my body, and my mind is disgusting and unholy. Because that gets thrown around. No, everything has been made new in Christ. Okay? And so it's cool to know that we're holy. Our soma is. It's also pleasing to God. It's what's used as, I'm this pleasing aroma to God's nostrils. And it's all of me, that is. The other thing is that I'm alive, and that's the one I want to kind of camp on. The idea that we come to God like one of the Old Testament sacrifices, one of these dead animals. God's looking for a unique sacrifice from us in these times. And it's a sacrifice that is alive. And so when I bring to God myself, my soma, everything's got to be brought. And I mean that in the very best way. He doesn't want you dead like before. It's that you offer Him your dead life and He makes you alive. Okay? We're described as kainos new now. We're a living, breathing, kicking and yelling, joyful, noise-making sacrifice. So let all of you live before God. Bring all that makes you you. If you like to be funny, then you bring that to God. Let it live. If you like movies like Matt does, that's part of his soma. And bring that to God. The food you eat, bring it to God. Your relationships, bring them to God. Hold them up. Now, I'm not saying that God's not going to change some of that stuff. If part of my soma is I like to watch movies 10 hours a day, then I still need to bring that to God and say, God, what? Okay, I'm your sacrifice now. And He may say, 2 hours. And then I'm going to show you what to do with the rest. But we bring it all to Him. And that's part of not just bringing fragmented pieces of us to God. Bringing our somas to God means that it's all or nothing. God has, I think Neil, I'm stealing this from him, and I didn't even hear it firsthand, but when God bought our field, He's the guy that went out and found something buried in a field. He bought the whole field. He buys He buys our good parts, our bad parts, our ugly parts, our pretty parts, and He bought all of us. And He said, I want this whole field.
Yeah.
And I love that. So I've found God when I've brought those things to Him that I had always heard were not really churchy things. I've always found Him to be incredibly kind and trustworthy when I bring my feelings to Him, my relationships to Him, when I bring my music to Him. I mean, I was listening to Bruce Springsteen one day. I was like, God, you like Bruce Springsteen? He said, yes. I like to listen to Bruce Springsteen too. Was that God or was that me? I think it was God. Okay, so what does this have to do with the wellness community? And the other thing, why do we need the wellness community here? Why is it something that is not just we like to do with our spare time? Why is it something that is absolutely essential that we need? I'm going to do this real quick. Here, I've got these 2 glasses of water. I'm adding some food coloring to these guys. Right. Now, okay, you know that the color red and the color blue are primary colors. You know that, Shy, don't you? Okay.
To make purple.
Hey, easy.
Hey,
Shy, you're too smart, okay? Okay. They're primary colors. When you mix them together, you get purple. Okay, I'm going to show you how this works. So these are 2 independent colors all of themselves. All by themselves. When you mix them together, they're going to make something completely new. If this works, I think it will. Whoa, you see that?
yeah.
That look purple to you? Okay. It looks purple to me. Now, here's the thing. Even though this color was just the combination of 2 other colors, I challenge anyone in this room, now that I've mixed these together, to try to get red and blue back out of this. You think you can do that? I don't think you can either. People that study light and light waves, they say that we don't actually see the color purple. It's just our brains trying to make sense of where red stops and blue starts, of where blue stops and red starts. We can't tell the difference. And Matt even said on a pixel computer, you can put a red pixel, a blue pixel, red pixel, blue pixel, and then when you back up from it, all you see is purple. And so literally purple is not a color in of itself, but it's our brain just trying to make sense of us seeing red and blue coming together. So it is with all of us. And, we're created by God to be a soma. And that word, I brought that word to light in that passage because it says something about us. It says that we're not just red, we're not just blue. God's made us in a unique package that's interwoven together, and each part of us affects the other. If we can say that if red, perhaps that, what do I do with this marker? If I want to say that red signifies the physical and the blue signifies the spiritual, if I can make that leap there, I can say that for a long time we've seen problems and issues in our lives in one of those 2 categories, which the world has tried to solve. The world has tried to solve with red problems, red solution. And the church has tried to solve blue problem, blue solution. And it's even kind of awkward if you, walk into a world's kind of a service and try to bring the blue in there. And it gets awkward because it's like, hey, you're not supposed to bring the spiritual into this. We're talking about physical, normal stuff. And it also gets awkward in the church a lot of the times. It doesn't here, but if we're talking about the spiritual and, you want to talk about finances, or you want to talk about the communication between you and your family or you and your friends, let's talk about spiritual stuff. It gets a little bit awkward, and we're offering, so the world wants to offer red solutions to red problems, and the church wants to offer blue solutions to blue problems. But the only problem is there's not any blue people out there. We are created uniquely purple. Nobody's more disappointed about that than me. I don't really like the color. I think it's too close to the color pink. I wore a purple shirt that somebody gave me one day, and I thought it was okay, and then so I got to church, somebody complimented me on it. I hadn't worn it since.
Amen.
So the church can...
Works that way for most people.
Yeah. The church can stay out of the red, and the world can stay out of the blue, but we're not solving we're not coming up with solutions that for purple people, which we all are. As much as you might want to see yourself as blue, or you might want to see yourself, or a visitor might want to come in and see themselves as red, we're all purple. I believe offering purple solutions will be absolutely essential. And if you get nothing else, get this. I think offering purple solutions will be absolutely essential for reaching a purple world, which is what we're faced with.
Yeah.
And this is why God has given us this vision. Even in our own ministries, we can see healing. Physical healing is red. We can see our health and wellness class that we've started. We can see that as red. Our garden team, we can see that as red. We can see maybe our teaching ministry is blue, and our Freedom Prayer ministry maybe is blue, maybe is red. I don't know. I think it's cool that we don't know. I think it's cool that just like when you look at a rainbow and you see violet in there, that you're really just saying where you can't just tell where red stops and where blue begins, because that's a person. When God says, my plan for you is this, I may have always thought that was talking about blue, but really it's purple. That's what shalom is. When Jesus said that the enemy comes to kill and to steal and to destroy, but I come that you may have life abundant, that life abundant is purple. Mm-hmm. We are, so really what I'm talking about with the wellness community is more than just a different group of activities that are red and blue. It's really changing a culture, and it's changing the way that we see our ministries and the way that we see people. And so what other health class could you ever walk into? And the first thing that we said in our health and wellness class was, I think I said that the most important factor in your physical health is the love that is in your life. You're not going to get that out of normal health class about food and nutrition. What? I thought this was about food and nutrition. No, this is about us being purple people. And when our healing teams, more and more, or even our healing teams, more our Freedom Prayer teams are, getting calls from different people that say, hey, can I talk to you sometime about eating? Can I talk to you sometime about the food that I'm eating and these kinds of things? I can see the culture start to shift, even though we're on this shaky ground. I don't know what we're doing, but it's starting to shift. And I think that's the thread. This purple is the thread that's going to run through the entire ministry, whether we're talking about our financial wellness, whether we're talking about physical healing, nutrition, our garden, and community wellness, whether we're talking about freedom prayer, and what we do in our community and us loving on people, we're going to do it in a purple way. So, our wellness community is a purple community. Have you figured that out yet? Okay. We need you. We need a lot to do this, really. We need, number one, we need your encouragement in your prayers. And that's not just that's not one that's taken lightly. We really need your encouragement in the things that we're doing through this. And that's going to mean the world. We need you to pray for us. And right now, we need to change the way that, we need to change our culture. We need to change the way that we think about these things. Like Alan said today, we need about $20 million. Yeah. You got it? Sean? Yeah. I'm even wearing your t-shirt. But we need people that are going to be willing to give their lives to it. Right now, a couple small steps that you can do is go to our page on Facebook and hit like, because we need to get the word out. When people anybody I've really talked to about this, they embrace it immediately. They really do. In fact, I was sitting in a coffee shop. I was talking to somebody else about it. Somebody overheard me in the table next to me. 20 minutes later, they walked up and handed me a check for $100 and said, I heard what you're talking about. I just think it's a cool thing. I want to do it.
Cool.
People do embrace this.
Yeah.
And we're, with our class, I'll tell you, our garden team, we talked about this in our other meeting. Our garden team needs help. We're green, we're greenhorn, not green thumb gardeners, and we need master gardeners to help us out. That's something that we need. So we need help in all these areas, and I'm gonna at this point let Alan take over. You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited. Give Eric a big hand for doing all this. Eric is carrying this vision. It's something that I really have had in my heart for 20 years, and we just now in the last year began acting on it. And it's really true. I care about people. And doctors know. One of the first medical books I got from that I read was 50% of all physical illnesses are driven, they say psychosomatically, I say spiritually. How do you separate the two? And they know that. And even as we've through the years have done lots and lots, and my hobby and passion has been psychology and developmental psychology. Through the years, we help people psychologically that aren't in physical relationships with other people, or they're in the wrong environment, or they're putting the wrong things into their body. And it's like you help them, they help them, and then they go back. And you help them and help them, and it's purely because of these other aspects. And so, I mean, through the years, I know Harvey and I both, as we've told people, listen, if you're not going to be in a community of believers, if you're not going to be we're wasting our time with you. I'm sorry, I want you well. I want you to have the life that God paid for already. But if you're not going to be in community, I can't help you anymore. We've had to do that. And so I think even this, as we're beginning to step out into this, it's a dream. Right now it's a dream. And Eric's, and there's board members, and I don't think we're even close to getting all the parts of this thing in place. But we dream of this becoming a physical reality here in Cabot, where people could come in and there's something wrong in their life, and we do have the answer. And it's going to take medical, nutritional, physical, relational, spiritual, emotional, all of those things together. And my passion has been the emotional part for years, and obviously the spiritual part too. But but the other things, we're just saying, God, they're the same. There's no less important or more important in my world. And so that's going to be unique, and it's just a dream we have. And the reason we talk about it on Sunday is we need people to embrace it. I know just in this room, there's several aspects that are part of it already that are, we have all these different aspects that Eric was talking about, that we talked about in the vision this morning. But we need, I don't know if you've ever had a baby. I mean, well, most of you guys haven't, but some of you girls have. And they start as a little tiny 2 cells, right? And but if you give it time and energy and nourishment, it will come out. And it just does.
Yeah.
I know. When I was a young father, we used to all, you worry to death about them coming out. Really, I quit worrying about that. I'm like, it's coming out. It's like, try to stop it. Somebody try to stop this kid. And that's what's going to happen here. It's in the baby stage. We want your names and your emails. We want to keep you informed with where we're at. Right now, a lot of the place, we're at the place when you're pregnant, you can't even see the baby bump yet, right? And that's where we're at in a lot of these ministries. But we dream. We're dreaming of something happening, And Eric is heading this up, and you guys can all be a part of it. I like birthing things. I do. I like seeing 10 years down the road, knowing that this is coming. And we need people that will be heroes. Heroes are people that lay their lives down for something that's not here yet, right? It's called faith. And that's what this ministry is right now. We need a bunch of heroes who are willing to invest their lives in something we can't see yet. But we know it's coming. We know it's coming. And so Eric is just heading that up. So I just want to thank you. It's been a vision of ours at Grace since day one. And it's becoming more and more real. So we're really, really excited about it. Okay? You good, Eric?
Yeah, I'm good.
It's good.
From here, this looks kind of black, but if you look down on this from seeing it in the light, it's
Yeah, you can
definitely
see.
purple. Let's see. You just sent me a text, huh? Is it pertain to this?
Yeah, well, I just looked at the thing up, she's talking about psychosomatic, and it has the word soma in it.
Oh, yeah?
It's
That's cool.
body and mind.
Huh.
Psychosomatic.
Actually, all three of those terms have medical applications. I can talk to you about that later. SART, pneuma, and soma.
Yeah. Pretty cool. Yeah, that's right. We're done as far as, we need so much, but like he said, before you're even showing, sometimes I can't even tell you, I can't put you to work tomorrow necessarily, even though it's in all of our hearts. And even the generosity to be a part of something like this is given to us by God. And so I know that gets stirred when we start talking about it. And so honestly, the ways that you can be involved right now, tell Hannah after this, we want to get your contact info. Honestly, this is a small thing, but like us on our Facebook Wellness Community page. Invite other people. Almost all of us are in cells. And if you're in a cell, then that's the life of our body is in cells. And more cells and cell servants are starting to tell their cell members about our nutrition class or about freedom prayer and something we can do in freedom prayer. And hey, come to the happy hour and get healed. Talk to somebody about one of these physical areas. I know you guys, Neil and Denise, get referrals from cells for relationship counseling. So a way to change our culture, you can even see it in the political shifts of this country, the big things that are already happening and the things that you can see on the horizon, even with this country and the politics, don't happen top up. They really happen, what Daryl always talks about, grassroots movements. They really do. Us changing a culture begins with us changing and us playing our small part in sharing this with somebody in our cell sharing this with somebody in our community, the vision for it. You know, I personally, told me that He wants me to give a certain amount above my tithe, you know, each time that I give to it. We're going to need more people to do that. Well, also, if you can write a grant, I can get with you. And you know, we're in the beginning stage. I'm about to have a meeting. I'm leaving for a meeting from this meeting to go talk to somebody about grants. And so, you know, God's gonna provide money, and I'd love for you to be a part of that too, because it's gonna take lots of it to see some of these buildings be built, some of these people get hired to do this full time. Now, what we want you to do, or what we want to do, is if you're a member of our board of directors, could you stand up? And if you would like to talk to somebody about this ministry and about being a part of it, would you? You know, we're just going to release now, unless.
We're going to take questions.
Oh, okay. Okay, y'all go ahead and sit down. Anybody got any questions so far? You come up with? Yes, sir.
I was just wondering, how is it, we're a smaller group, we're not hundreds of people here today, we all have the same, pretty much the same vision and goals and aspirations and expectations. But is something being done already in the community that we could join forces with? Or they come over to us? Or we get ideas from them? Or what is in the community already?
Okay, that's a great question. Even when you started asking that question, I just thought, oh, I'm not going to know the answer to what you asked. But I think I do. A lot of this is already being started here. We have a thriving counseling ministry. We don't call it that. And what we do with Freedom Prayer. And we're looking to expand that. We have a girl that we have very good connections within the counseling world so far, and getting better connected with us being able to even be referred by getting referrals by judges and schools and things like that for Freedom Prayer counseling. And Shauna Burns has been doing Freedom Prayer counseling out in the mean streets for years. And it's part of her legitimate, you know, government-sanctioned counseling practice. And so there's ways to do this. Also, you know, we want our health and wellness class. It's been a huge success so far in what we've done. It's been very small in numbers, but it's been huge in what we're learning. What we're good at and what we haven't done so good at. We're going to be offering more of those classes, and just food and nutrition. And I've talked to Harvey about, he's mentioned to me expanding the way he does great conferences. And he does a lot of things great, but he does great health and healing conferences. We talked about doing a conference that is expanded to do a wellness conference, that we invite people in all over the state and not only teach about healing, but teach about health and teach about relationships and teach about emotional wellness and some of these different parts of what make us somas, you know. And those are just a few things. Our garden team is kicked around the ideas of purchasing good, healthy food throughout and sharing in that communally. I'm not sure if I'm going to get this out the right way, but buying good, healthy food in bulk and being a distribution, a point of
Co-op.
Yeah, co-op.
Co-op.
These things are on our horizon. Dane and Heather do a lot of community activities. They do some of the Thanksgiving stuff is just the tip of the iceberg what they do. I know they do a ton of stuff. And they've since day one, I've wanted, and they've been a part of us dreaming about this wellness community. So they are doing things. Our Freedom Prayer Ministry is doing things. Our healing ministry is doing things. Our nutrition team is doing things. Our garden team is doing things. They're getting eaten by the birds, our produce, but yeah, these birds are really embracing the weed. We have the healthiest birds. They're eating tons of healthy organic produce every day. Is that kind of answer your question a little bit?
I think pretty much so, but it has the, should I say it, the community, meaning the town of Cabot itself. And do we, mean, you all, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we have to approach them and say, well, we're heading this direction? And we approach them and say, this is our 3-year plan, this is our 5-year plan, or what? I mean, obviously they may be, they heard something going on, but maybe invite them to one of the meetings, maybe the mayor, or some of his people, and say, look, you wouldn't have to preach them, but you can present whatever you presented today is very much in line with the community and
Yeah.
get them on board too. Maybe there would be, grants there, maybe there'd be help there, maybe there'd be
Yeah.
expertise to come in.
And I think there is. I think that's a great point, and it's a great way to think about this, because even with our nutrition class, we talked about that day one, except we said, we've never done this kind of thing before. We don't want to invite everybody in the community and then us be, ill-prepared for it. Crystal has kind of been leading that class. She's done a great job. We're building a great notebook full of information. And our intention, what we've been talking about, is the next time we offer it, to hang stuff up around town. Now, the organization's already doing this kind of stuff. There's some of these areas that some stuff's being done. I don't really know, like in that realm, the health and nutrition realm, if it's being done.
I don't think so.
Health education is being done. Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I've just been sitting back here listening to all of this there, and, presenting the vision to the commerce of Cabot would really bring the opportunity for the businesses to come behind it and allow them. It'd be like opening up the opportunity to the business leaders of Cabot to invest into the vision of grace that affects the community. And I think that there's nothing to fear about stepping out and presenting it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I might have a few butterflies myself, but no, I agree with you completely.
I pray for you.
Hannah's taking notes on that, so you're right. I think she's right.
Yes.
I'm looking at her board member. She's right, isn't she? Yeah. I think so. You're right.
I mean, what harm could come from
Nothing. I think it part of it is a matter of timing. Of not hatching something before it's had its incubation time.
That's right.
So I think some of these things are going to be coming a few days down the road. Some are going to be coming a few weeks. Some are going to be coming a few months. Others maybe a few years. But you're absolutely right. And that's what we'd like to do. Patty?
This gentleman's point also is, are there any other organizations in Cabot that are already doing any of the aspects of this, like providing nutrition for people in Cabot, or is there a community garden anywhere in Cabot, any of the aspects, is any of that already going on that could be combined with what we're doing?
Yeah.
As far as combining resources, combining efforts. I think that's what he was saying.
Okay.
Bring the community into the program, you know.
Yes.
Not that we should give up what we're doing at all, but bringing in other
Dovetail.
people in.
Because since I don't live here, I don't know some of the things.
I can answer that. That's exactly what you were saying, Gene. And that's true. You know, in Cabot, our Christian culture has been pretty much narrow to each body. Like, there's a lot of churches feeding.
Yeah.
Now, do they pay attention to nutrition? No, not really. I mean, you know, Jane, who goes to church here, she belongs, I forget the name of the company. She works for a company that
Hunger
feeds.
Alliance.
Yeah, Hunger Alliance, and she's over that Hunger Alliance in this whole area, and they feed thousands of kids all the time. And Dane and Heather runs a ministry for the poor here in town, and they do the feeding here. So those things are all pretty separate, you know. The churches haven't come together. This is pretty unique for the community. You
That's
know,
right.
We have a medical office here in Cabot that does free dental care. And so, you know, but this is pretty unique, and it's all brand new. So like, one of the things we're gonna do, like if you'll talk to people and get on our list, each one of these different areas, we have 7 different areas, I think. We need people on those teams who'll do the things we're sort of talking about right now. It's still baby, other than Freedom Prayer, you know, the nutrition's going now, but Freedom Prayer and Healing Prayer, which Freedom Prayer, we've been doing that. We are a resource for other ministries in town and other churches. They send us people all the time, you know. I mean, I remember one night where I'm at youth group, and there's a strange guy in the back of the room, and, you know, we keep a pretty close watch with our teenagers and our kids, and it's like, so I go back there and I'm sit down and talk to him, like, hey, what are you doing here? You just like a predator or what, you know? What are you doing here at our teenagers group? He said, no, he said, I was gonna kill myself and my pastor sent me here.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, tonight? He said, yeah. I said, okay, let's go talk to my office. You know, and so we have that in town. We are a resource to lots of churches
Amen.
for those 2 areas, and we do it for free, and to this point, and we try to train them too. We'll give it all away. But this is a whole new thing. Doing it in nutrition, doing it in the garden center, having a medical clinic, that's all pre-birth stuff for us, really, or just now being birthed. But in Cabot, no, Gene, Cabot's Christian community is pretty, they do a Thanksgiving basket thing once a year, just a handful of churches participate. We ran a pastor's prayer group for about 10 years here in town with, I don't know, 12 to 15
14
churches
Yeah.
involved in that. But sort of, other than that, no, Cabot is pretty upper middle class, white collar individuals that has a big need for community.
And one of our big visions for the community feast, and when Heather and I started talking about having a community feast here in Cabot, our big vision was to bring the whole Christian community together and to bring the body of Christ together. So that's why we have it at a different church every year. We had it at NLC the first year, we had it here the second year, we had it at the Methodist Church last year, and we have it at the Church of Christ this year, and we'll have it at a different church next year. So each year, we're hoping that that church gains ownership of it, and then those people will be a part of it the next year. And then as the next church jumps on, then they can gain ownership of it, and we can just bring the body together as one community.
We're sort of the hotbed for that, which means there's not much.
You know, that Alan said about freedom prayer, it's like, we've trained a lot of churches in town on physical healing. You know, and they send people to our church. And when we have a school, we advertise it for all of them to come. Because we want the whole body of Christ to walk in God's healing power. I mean, not just here in Little Rock, we've got lots of people. You come to Happy Hour, we've got tons of people from there. So we, basically, I don't know of many churches that in this region that really pray for much physical healing, except our church. But we want it to spread throughout the community.
And we're very interested, Gene, and we'd be very interested in connecting with other
Well, sure we
people that have the same heart. too. I mean, even if we don't know about it yet.
I know the New Life Church, not NLC, but the New Life, their hearts are set in that direction because I talk to Brother Daddy quite often.
Okay.
Oh, yes, Tim.
And they are kind of in for something like that. They've been talking about setting something up.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, he's speaking at our youth conference.
Right, he'll be there.
so
Yeah.
that'd be a good one.
Yeah, we stay, we're friends.
So we'd love to
Yeah, we're
network
good.
with people.
New Life.
That was part of Aaron's word too, that this would connect us with other people in the community. It wouldn't be something we would do alone, but we would be connected with other people.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions?
This is sort of not exactly on the topic, but this morning, someone said something about a parenting class or something. Is that soon, or is that
Yeah,
just for
soon.
this? or
It'll be here in the
for-
next-
That's something, you'll hear something about that pretty quick. That's something that's coming in about a month,
Okay.
month and a half.
All
But
right, I was just wondering.
that's right now that's not
It's-
directly under the umbrella of the wellness community.
Right,
but
Yeah.
I didn't know.
Those
if that's-
types of things will be in the wellness community as
Right.
time goes.
Right,
A lot of things and teachings and things that are under an educational arm, a lot of times get floated in connection and in different places, then they'll, in some form, they'll wind up being a part of the wellness community.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
okay.
true. That's very good, man,
Yeah, it was good.
Okay, I'm curious on the subject.
Hey, here, just a comment. We're gonna start putting testimonies on the Wellness Center Facebook page and stuff like that, and it's not, you don't wanna just like it, but go back, and when someone gives a testimony, like it, and get a lot of activity that way, and just pepper that thing, and people, you know, your friends will begin to see that, and then their friends
Yeah.
will begin to see that, and that really spreads out. I think we had like,
Yeah.
last time I looked, we had like 335 likes on the Grace Fellowship page, but a lot of them are people that don't go to our church.
yeah. Stuff like Facebook is, like it or hate it, a big part of spreading things
Really
these days
is.
is technology. You know, if you're the type of person that doesn't like that people follow the scriptures on the phone, then I understand that it's gonna get worse. I mean, just technology is spreading and you're getting, you know, so, yeah, even being a part of, we do have a website or a webpage, and that's separate from Facebook, and we do have a Facebook page that we try to stay up to date on, and we're gonna be continuing and expanding on.
We'll put a link on the connection page, our connection Facebook page. We'll put a link
Okay.
on there this week. It goes to the Wellness Center.
The little brown line that goes all the way around the campus.
That's
what
a
is-
walking sidewalk.
Awesome,
Yeah.
that's cool. Okay, I just didn't know.
Yeah, this is something that we that involves not just the wellness community, but you know, our church expansion. If you hadn't got a chance to look at this, if it would be a good idea to look at it. It's more. It may not end up exactly the way that we planned it, but we got to have something to shoot for.
That's good.
And so, you know, these kind of things are labeled buildings that, you know, wellness center, counseling center, nutrition center, greenhouses and things. We want to do a lot of different things, you know. We want to, even greenhouses totally fits in. We want to be good stewards of the earth, the creation. That is, you know, you get labeled a hippie or something in a church. It's part of our soma, and it's part of being who God's created us to be. Is even not all of us are gardeners. Some of us just try to be, but growing, eating good food, and being in relationship with the people that do is part of being a community. So, any other questions? Yes, ma'am.
Do we already have the tentative?
Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
yeah, we currently own 10 acres here.
We're
And-
presently on about 4.5 acres. Is
Oh,
what we've
really?
cleared so far, yeah. it's
Oh,
close.
okay, we cleared that much.
That's about
We're
how much-
We're utilizing right now,
There's 10 acres right here.
yeah,
Yeah, there it is right there, that's our property. That's
Yeah.
all that green is back behind here. That was a
and it's,
miracle of God.
we're soft utilizing for, yeah,
I would like to comment.
yes, ma'am.
If you'll contact the Lonoc County Extension Office, they have master gardeners and they'll do free classes and trainings, and they also deal with finances and nutrition, but all their services are free. Can you tell them it's for a nonprofit, they would help them.
Oh, that's true.
That's good.
We could use a gardening class.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We better wait a while.
Yeah, and not teaching.
We're not teaching it.
We'll have Gene teach that one.
Gene or somebody else can teach it.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I'd go to that one.
Yeah.
They brought up a financial wellness class, having one of those, I'd be like, I'd sign up for it. Okay, cool. Any other questions for the group? If you have an individual question, then just ask one of our board members. I really appreciate you being here.
Yeah.
Even if you leave with more questions than you came in, it's okay. It's just as long as, a piece of it touched your heart, then that was the goal of it, Thank you, guys. Y'all have a great weekend.